The vibration of change, that magical place where life shifts from struggle to ease, from stagnation to forward movement, from old ways of being to new ways of becoming. Yes, it can seem rather elusive to get there, but when you are in it, you feel it down to your very core, and it can positively affect everything in your life, from your relationships to your health and well-being, from your career path to your abundance, from the quality of your inner connection to the fullness of your self-expression. Here on the Christine Upchurch Show, we explore ways to get into that vibration of change with experts in the fields of consciousness, psychology, spirituality, health, healing, and science. Are you ready to step into your vibration of change? Welcome back to the Christine Upchurch Show and the Vibration of Change here on KKNW AM 1150 in the Seattle area, Transformation Talk Radio around the world, and of course, Facebook Live after the fact on my YouTube channel. You know, folks, life doesn't always unfold the way we think it should unfold, right? And today we had a guest scheduled who has been a no-show. It's probably some glitch. I don't know if Mercury's in retrograde or not. I think it's not. But anyway, you know, I believe in the divine perfection of how things unfold. So the first half hour, I talked about tribalism, and not tribalism in terms of indigenous tribes, but the tribalism that we experience as humans. We have tribalism in our DNA. We have pain when we're disconnected from our tribe. So if you missed that, I hope you go back and look into that. But the next thing I think I want to talk about is how the universe supports us. And I have to tell you that when we begin to pay attention to signs that the universe is speaking to us in one way or another, it's becomes very obvious the ethereal support we have, whether you think it comes from angels or guides or just aspects of the quantum field that magically align up to orchestrate certain signs. It is pretty amazing. So I think I want to share with you guys today some of what I've experienced that makes it really, really clear that we have support, that universal intelligence, that ethereal support system is very real. I mean, it's like hit us over the head. You know, it's hilariously true or poignantly true. So I think the first story that I want to share with you is something that happened right before a radio show that I did. I did the radio show probably about 9 or 10 months ago. Robert Moss was the guest on my show that day, which is absolutely perfect because he's written books about signs. I think his book on that was about sidewalk oracles. When he takes his dog out for a walk, he looks for signs all over the place, and he's an expert in active dreaming, and he's a fascinating individual. Okay, so let me go back. Oh gosh, more than a year. Had a friend who Tracy was her name, who had cancer, and she had healed herself and had some support from the medical system, and she had healed. And she and I, it was the beginning of the outbreak of the virus, and we went to an event, an art glass show event that was a lot of fun. And we were sort of on the fence as to whether to go or not. And we decided to go ahead and go because it was like a once a year sort of thing. And so we went and had a great day. And then by the next day, she was experiencing pain and she thought it might be her gallbladder. Well, unfortunately, it turns out the cancer had returned. And so she was going through all sorts of treatment, but holding her own. And I was getting regular updates from her partner. And, you know, seemed like she was doing okay. So a few moments before I got on that show with Robert Moss, I'm sitting here in this room that I'm sitting in right now, and there was a crow that came to the windowsill. Now, there's really no ledge. It's this little tiny thing. And suddenly a bird was on it for the first time I've ever seen a bird on any of them in my house. And it was sitting there and it began to look directly at me across the room and started tapping its beak, tap, 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 tap. And I'm thinking, what the heck? And I'm trying to be professional and stay in my chair because, I've got a guest coming. The show's starting. The show must go on. And yet I'm thinking, this bird's trying to get my attention. I mean, it's looking directly at me. So I get up and I walk over to the window, and then it goes from the windowsill and then perches up on a tree, still very nearby. And I thought that's very interesting. And so Robert and I talked about it, how, there are signs, and crows can mean a sign of death. Okay, so we had our show, and I thought that's very odd. There's never been a bird doing that before. So then what happened was, a day and a half later, I heard from my friend Tracy's partner that she had gone into a coma, and they were expecting her to pass within probably 24 to 48 hours. And I had had no idea. And of course, I was devastated by the news because she had had her healing success, and she's such a bright light and a friend too. Um, and then I realized, well, perhaps that crow was a messenger. Maybe while she was in her coma, she came to me, or was a messenger. And I thought that's just so profound. And she did pass away a couple of days later. All right, so move forward about 9 or 10 days after she passed away, or maybe it was about a week. I go to set my alarm. It was the night before my radio show. I go to set my alarm, and all of a sudden on my phone, this video of some highlights, some photo highlights came up on, and it wasn't like a year before. My phone's done that twice before, and this time it was an outing that I had done with Tracy, and we had gone to a museum for a show. And beforehand, we had gone to this restaurant that's at the top of this building in Bellevue, Washington, and it's got a great view up there. And we had these fancy drinks, and there was a little video of Tracy's drink sort of effervescently bubbling over, and or bubbling up, like, I don't know what they used. I don't know what it was, but it was this beautiful drink. And there she is smiling. And I'm thinking there, and I've got tears streaming because I'm missing her and sad, for myself and for all these people who loved her. And I'm thinking, what was the name of that restaurant we went to, where we sat and had drinks and hors d'oeuvres before that museum show? And all of a sudden it came to me, the restaurant name, Ascend. So I'm thinking, oh my gosh, how perfect, like perhaps her soul had been traveling while in a coma, and the crow had come and tapped on my window to let me know Tracy was on her way out. And then ascend, maybe it was time for her to leave the earthly plane of hovering around loved ones, giving us signs, and it was time for her to ascend. And then, perhaps not so coincidentally, the next morning, I wake up, and another window in my bedroom, there's a dove that begins to dive into my window repeatedly. And I'm thinking, I've never had birds tapping on my window, or putting their talons against the window ever. And before Tracy passed, there was the crow. It's thought to be living between the two worlds of here and the afterlife. It was tapping on my window. And the morning after seeing the video of us being at that restaurant called Ascend, this dove is tapping on my window, sort of diving into my window. And that dove is associated with spirituality and peace. Um, so I thought that those signs were pretty doggone obvious that Tracy's soul was getting ready to leave the body, and then Tracy's soul was getting ready to ascend. And I thought, you know, if I hadn't paid attention to the signs, would I have put it together? Maybe. I mean, those are pretty obvious, I think. Uh, but it was this beautiful experience of knowing that our reality in this 3D realm is that there's a lot more going on behind the scenes, that we have this support, that the 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 truth of our reality is very mystical and beautiful, and sometimes we get some very obvious signs. So I get a lot of other signs too. The numerological signs can be kind of amusing sometimes, and it's funny because I spent a day traveling, taking care of some errands and taking care of some business the other day, and I kept seeing the triple digit signs. I don't know if you've ever experienced that where suddenly you're seeing like 111, 111, 111, or 999. And some people believe that there are messages within those signs. And the other day, it's funny because yeah, I'm driving along and I'm see telephone numbers on the sides of vans and license plates and all sorts of things in places I'm going into, businesses and stuff. And so by the end of the day, when I had gone and run my errands, I had seen a number of 111s, 222, 333, 444, 555 twice, 666, 888, and 999 a couple of times. And I'm thinking, but I haven't seen 777, right? And I was kind of looking around and trying at that point. I'm thinking, I need it to be complete. And then it's like, oh no, that's driving, it isn't going to allow those messages just to flow towards me. So I'm sitting in a ferry line and looking at stuff on my phone and occasionally glancing up, and the ferry was delayed, and so I had a lot of time there. And I glanced up, and there on the license plate on this RV next to me in the next lane had 777 in it, which I found amusing. And so, for me, those numbers didn't really mean anything in particular, except maybe it's just a game with numbers. But for me, sometimes I'll see very specific numbers, triple numbers, four numbers in a row that will, of the same digit, that will indicate to me that I've got ethereal support, or there'll be a particular message, because the numerology of numbers can mean different things. Like 777 might mean it's like they're considered, the triple ones are considered to be master numbers. 777 is like you're on the right path. 888 is like a master abundance. Um, but I do want to share with you about 111, because as those of you who've followed me for a long time, maybe your previous client, maybe you've looked at my website, I'm the co-creator of something called the 111 activation. And first of all, the reason we called it the 111 activation was because some of the magic about it coming through happened on January 11th of 2011 on 11111. Anyway, uh, at that point, I had been teaching reconnective healing. I was one of 3 instructors besides Eric Pearl, traveled and taught around the world. And it was wonderful because getting to teach others to facilitate healing, getting to get people immersed within those healing frequencies was transformative. And, get to both facilitate healings, demonstrate healing, have people experience healings on the table as they're just practicing on each other. It was a very powerful thing. And sometimes people's lives would change dramatically afterwards. Like, I did a session for a guy who he'd been in a car accident, and he'd shattered his lower leg, and the doctors were going to amputate his leg from like below the knee downward, and he begged them not to. And so they rebuilt his leg with steel rods and pins, and they said he'll never walk again. Well, he spent a couple of years through physical therapy getting himself to walk again. I mean, he had done some amazing healing on his own. But whenever he stood or walked, he was in excruciating pain. So he talked to the doctors about it, and the doctor said, "Well, you either get back in the wheelchair to or you stay on pain meds all the time if you're going to be walking." And he knew that the drugs made him kind of spacey, and I don't know if I think it was an accountant or something, where he needed a lot of detailed information. So being on these heavy duty painkillers, not only is it addictive and not good for the body, it's not good for the mind. So he decided to come to this seminar, and he was immersed in the frequencies all weekend, and I did a session with him. It was interesting because he had come in on one of these walkers, not like a cane that is not a walker, but a cane, not one of those ones that's just like a that looks like a candy cane, that angled one, but one that had four arms at the bottom, so really stable. And so he was on one of those canes, and he was on pain meds the entire time because even walking with that cane, he was in a lot of pain. And he told me that the doctors said, if you really want to be walking around and you don't want to be on the pain meds, we could do some experimental surgery, and we could cut the nerves to your lower leg. Well, I mean, think about that. Not having any feeling in the lower leg just so you could walk. I mean, it's crazy, but you know, that was their solution or proposed solution. So he'd come, even though he wasn't into the woo-woo stuff, he'd come. And anyway, he got on my table, and he had to walk with that cane and be very stable before he got up on the table. And he was on my table for 30 minutes. And keep in mind, he'd been there in the seminar immersed in the frequencies too. By the time he got off the table, the pain was gone. And from that moment on, he didn't need the pain meds. And in fact, the next day he came walking up to me without the cane. So, you know, eh, teaching in these seminars and also doing sessions with this work, I knew that we can have big shifts. And sometimes they're very obvious physical transformations. And being a part of those healings, getting to witness them and getting to see people working on each other and having healings was just very profound experience. So there was a woman who came to one of the seminars I was teaching, and whenever I had the honor of teaching these seminars, I also had great teaching staff. There are people who are part of my tribe, and they would do some teaching on their own, and they would also help people on at the massage tables to learn. There's this woman who came, and she had an amazing transformation after being in the seminar. And hers wasn't like a physical healing. Hers was opening up to channeling wisdom from the universe in a new way. And in fact, she began to channel what she said were archangels Gabriel and Michael. And at that point, I didn't know that if I believed in archangels. I've been a skeptic much of my life, but I'd love to have my mind kind of blown wide open by experiences. But I'm a little skeptical about these things. And she said that Archangel Michael had a message for me and my colleague Patrice, and that we had access to these activation codes that needed to be brought in to help humanity at this time of great transformation. Now, when you work in this realm, people have all sorts of experiences. We get all sorts of psychic messages from people who already channel or are opening up to channel. And, when you get exposed to a lot of this stuff, I mean, you pay attention, but you take it all with a grain of salt because who knows? So to make a long story short, we got validation. My friend Patrice, told me about this message that she'd gotten from this woman. And so we decided, we had these, I won't go into details, but we had this basic aha because we were getting some of the same intuitive information. We thought there might be something to it. So we gathered together in the early to mid-January. And we thought we got a couple of our colleagues together, and we thought, well, maybe there's something to it, but if not, we're just going to have fun. We're going to cook some good meals, hang out together, go for walks, stay up the wee hours talking. So we started playing around with some of the information that my friend Patrice and I had been intuiting, and we were working on a massage table. And a little bit after midnight on January 11th of 2011, on 1/11/11, this process, this energetic hands-off process, which is really sacred geometry when you put it all together, interestingly enough, it began to come through. And we created this process. We co-created the four of us, along with the wisdom of the universe behind us. Um, and we called it the 111 activation. It took us a while to sort of accept that there was something new, something different. Anyway, after that, those 4 or 5 days that we spent together and this process came through, we didn't know if it was anything important. We didn't know if it was different from anything we were offering, with Reconnective Healing and the Reconnection, the organization we all worked for, and the kind of work that we all did. And we were finding that people were experiencing interesting things. But afterwards, started seeing 111 everywhere. I mean, I could go through a day and I would see 111 probably like 10, 12 times. And it was kind of like the universe was hitting me particularly over the head with the fact that this was important. But I had in the back of my mind, I knew that because of the belief system within the organization that I worked for, that if brought anything new through, it was sort of out of alignment with this other work. And I don't believe that at all, but that was the belief system of the person in charge. And so, had to be kind of careful making a choice, because I was traveling the world teaching and having a profound impact on people's lives, and coming into connection with and collaboration with all these other wonderful healers on the teaching staff who were making their mark in the same way. And so it was a big deal to think about stepping away from that and bringing this 111 activation forward. So I'd sort of put the question out to the universe: um, what should I do with this? Should I just sort of put it aside? It's like that was an interesting few days on this little retreat with my dear friends and healing colleagues, or should I do something with it? So okay, so one evening I get home from work, and I've spent the afternoon doing sessions and taking care of some business stuff, and I come home from my healing center, and you know I get home and I know I've got two kids who are going to need to be fed, and two kids who probably need their homework overseen. And all I can think of is I really got to sit down. And I never do that because it's kind of like, I don't know about you, but the momentum of kind of like keep going, keep going, keep going, and don't relax until you can really have the time and space to relax. So I would always just get started cooking, and that evening it's like, no, I got to sit down and put my feet up and just rest. And then I thought, I'm going to turn on the TV, which is, again, at that time of the evening is not something I would typically do. So I sat down, turned on the TV, and I'm looking through, I don't know, it was like 900 some odd channels, like scrolling through the guide and looking like there's nothing on TV. And then I heard the words inside my head: look and see what's on channel 111. So I scrolled up from like 900 and something channel all the way up to the guide. And there on channel 111 was the show that I had never seen before. It was the show, a repeat of The New Adventures of the Old Christine. To me, it was the universe saying, yeah, bring the 111 forward. It was so incredibly obvious to me. And so, if we pay attention in to the signs that are out there, we get them. And it's the kind of thing where um, the signs can come in obvious ways through numerology, through birds tapping on windows, but they also come in like through our physical bodies. Like, I really believe that, I know that in the spiritual realm for thousands of years, there have been teachings about we need to sort of transcend and kind of disconnect from the physical body. And I think that we've been sold a bill of goods in that respect, because of the fact that our bodies are a type of GPS for us. We get soul information, not only through like signs around us and intuitive information, but our physical sensations. And I don't know if you've ever been around somebody and um, suddenly you're introduced to them, they're smiling, you've got friends or family members who like them, you think I should like them, but I'm feeling some tightness in my gut, or I'm feeling tightness in my throat. Um, if we pay attention to those kinds of physical signs, physical symptoms, I guess is what you'd call that in medical terminology, when you experience something yourself that's not visible to others, it's a symptom. It's indicating that there's something out of alignment there. Um, the same things happens though if you feel like this ease in your body, or this kind of like I think of it as effervescent energy. Like the we often will experience this soul guidance through our nervous system of our body. It's this either ease or this sense of kind of giddiness or anticipation. I think of it as effervescent energy. And it's the sort of thing where it can indicate to us that we're on the right path. Like if something we've thought about just now about possibly, you know, creating something or getting into contact with somebody, um, that we're on the right path, or the tightness, some sense of resistance, some sense of contraction is really saying this isn't good for us, right? And so these signs can come in a variety of ways, but the physical sensations are an integral part of our intuitive nature, of our inner GPS. So those are important type of signs. Um, Also, the signs we get within the context of our dreams are very, very important. And I've had some dreams that have felt like really weird. I mean, dreams can be strange, can't they? And so, suddenly I'm waking up from a dream, and I'm, you know, trying to make some sense of it. I like to record my dreams in one way or another if it feels like it's a significant dream. And some people record all their dreams. I'm too lazy when I'm in a semi asleep state to do that. But if something is like sticking with me, I like to tell somebody. I like to record it, through a voice recording, or make a few notes, because oftentimes as we sort of unravel a dream, it can be indicating that there's something significant we need to pay attention to. Um, when it was time to leave my marriage, that was very dysfunctional, I got some obvious information in a dream. I've gotten information about droughts in dreams. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff that can come through. So if we pay attention to those signs that come in a variety of ways, then it's almost like we've got this support system. We've got ethereal coaching underway. So it's the kind of thing where if we can trust in that and become more aware and more adept at kind of processing the signs, the symptoms, the sensations, the signals that come in a variety of ways, then we really, really, really can open up and move forward in our own personal soul level evolution in new and expansive ways. So I encourage you to pay attention to signs. And being a former math major, former statistician, my guides speak to me in numbers on a regular basis. Pay attention to those too, because and there's some good information out there about what certain numbers mean. Anyway, this show wasn't what it was planned to be, but I hope you enjoyed it today. Leave me a comment below. Leave a message on the YouTube channel when I get up there if you enjoyed this. Also, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Please, please, please check out the Academy of Divine Knowledge. If you follow the link on the homepage of christineupchurch.com, you will find your way to all these amazing teachers and take a look at what some of the content that's available. And for a small fee every month, you can just do it for 1 month and get probably all of my content for the month, and some other fabulous, fabulous information, presentations, and experiences. Thanks for joining me here today. I look forward to talking to you again soon. Thanks so much for tuning in today. If you'd like to empower yourself to step further into your vibration of change, please visit my website at christineupchurch.com, where you can learn more about my insights, upcoming events, and private sessions.